Good morning, people. Hi. I know I haven't done one of these for a while, so this is going to be a 5-minute knowledge bomb. Today we're going to talk about the mistakes made by dieters. I've got 6 kind of biggest mistakes made by dieters, competitors, people just wanting to condition, lose fat, basically anyone that's kind of approaching a calorie deficit. This is 6 biggest mistakes I came up with on the treadmill this morning whilst doing my fasted cardio. It's just a little bit of a kind of get you back in there. Welcome back to the 5-minute knowledge bombs. I know I've been on a little bit of a sabbatical over the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to give you 6 points. Biggest mistakes I believe made by dieters. I've been working with people for over 14 years now. Gosh, coming up nearly 16 years actually. I've worked with most type of clientele, from average Joe to celebrity to professional to competitor to starting out as a competitor to completely lazy, very overweight, very underweight. I've dealt with them all. So these are kind of the biggest mistakes I've made, and they're 6 simple points. First one we're going to approach is dropping calories too much when approaching calorie deficit. I think I spoke about my kind of how to work out your total daily energy expenditure and then kind of how to sit into a deficit in terms of the regular kind of 20% deficit based on your total daily energy expenditure, which is how many calories you burn a day. Roughly, it's all a guesstimate at the end of the day, isn't it? So number 1, dropping calories too much. Most people, when I'd say, let's speak about the average Joe. So an average Joe would normally, okay, they want to lose weight, they want to get in shape for a holiday, for I don't know, an event, for a wedding or something like that. Their first normal move is to cut out a macronutrient, which is actually point 2. But drastic reduced calories, like they'll go from eating out, not really controlling their diet, drinking, stuff like this, hanging out with their mates, having 6 or 7 pints on the weekend, binge drinking on a Friday night, eating out, takeaways, all this kind of stuff, and say, right, I want to be healthy. So what's the way to be healthy? I'm going to eat vegetables, salads, I'm going to cut carbs, and yeah, they'll probably get some good results based on that. Basically, it's just cutting calories. What they're doing is just hampering away to cut calories. They're going from their kind of more sedentary, high calorie intake, high saturated fats, high sugars, things like this, through alcohol, takeouts, things like this. And they're cutting into a more focused, healthy approach, which for them usually consists of salads and vegetables and lean chickens and white fish and that kind of stuff. That'll only get you so far. It's not the best way to do it. It's always best to do a calculated way too much. And when you're talking about competitor, generally, this is normally kind of not a seasoned competitor, someone who's been doing it, someone's kind of starting it off, a 12-week prep. They'll normally come to, well, they say normally, they'll come to a position around 12 weeks out and they say, right, time to prep for it. I've got a competition in 12 weeks. I'm going to go from eating, I don't know how many calories you've been eating, whether you've been tracking 3,000, 4,000, 4,500, 5,000, whatever. I'm going to cut that down to half that. I'm going to be on 2,500 calories for 12 weeks, and that's the way I'm going to get into shape. Understandable. It's probably going to get results. You're drastically reducing your calories. Possibly you're in a massive calorie surplus previously, and now you're dropping into a slight calorie deficit. But again, if you're not well aware of your BMR and your total daily energy expenditure, you don't really know where to drop or where to find those calories. You'll probably get results. You will. It's fairly bland and boring being on the same calorie count for the whole 12 weeks. But it will get you results, and if you can handle that for the first 12 weeks, which general beginners can because they see it as a focus for that 12 weeks, but then again, you've got to lead to, will you be able to sustain that? But if it's for a competition or a photo shoot or wedding or something like that, general people just say, okay, that's done, let's go on the eating trail. But that's the, dropping calories too much is normally the first, the best way to do it, and I've spoken about this time and time of day. Find out your total daily energy expenditure, cut into maybe a 10 to 15% deficit, see where you are in a week or 10 days. It normally takes about 10 to 14 days for the kind of macros to kick in terms of your body adjusts, and then see where you are and make adjustments based on that. If you're not making as good a results as you feel you are, take that up a little bit. Drop into a further calorie deficit, maybe reduce carbohydrates a little bit, maybe reduce fats, whatever is your macronutrient of tool, and then go from there. But again, that's the first mistake I find people make. Mistake 2, removing a macronutrient or drastically reducing a macronutrient from your diet. So again, same thing when we're talking about calories. This is normally kind of the average Joe. they hear about, you know, no carb diets, you know, South Beach diet, all that kind of stuff that focus on removing carbohydrates. Why do people remove carbohydrates from the diet? Generally, it's the most common form of food for most people. It's the most easily available. It's carbohydrates and sugars are in things that we don't even know they're in. So removing a macronutrient pretty much cuts their total calorific intake by a substantial amount. Say, for example, 50% of their calories were coming from carbohydrates. They basically just cut out 50% of their calories. So they could theoretically stay on the same kind of lifestyle without carbohydrates and make a drop in weight, drop in body fat, because they have suddenly drastically reduced their calorie intake by halving carbohydrates. From a competitive-based perspective, this is even more damaging. Say you're in for a kind of 12 or 16-week prep and you suddenly cut carbohydrates, unless, of course, there are certain implications, things like people who are very drastically intolerant to carbohydrates, who don't deal with them well, who don't digest and filtrate them well, then yes, there's an argument for you to cut calories, to cut carbohydrates. But again, you'll increase fats or you'll increase proteins to make up the calorific deficit. So, you know, it's not substantially saying, okay, I'm going to remove carbohydrates directly from my diet and I'm going to reduce 50% of my calorific intake, and that's where I'm going to go from there. What do carbohydrates do? We know they fuel the workout. You know, they help metabolize protein. We know they have an effect on protein synthesis. We know they help you sleep better. These kind of things, if your body processes carbohydrates well, really do work well. Sorry, I got distracted by a WhatsApp that came up. Shouldn't have my phone, but then again, I am looking at the points that I've made. So again, we could talk about fats as well. Some kind of, I think it's more of an old school approach to drastically reduce fats. I know that was kind of, you know, back in the 70s and 80s for the general population, saying a low-fat diet is the best way to go. That is definitely not true, and it's been proven as not true quite a few times in the past 10 years. So removing a macronutrient from a diet is not the best way to go. For a competitor, I always say try and keep carbohydrates and calories as high as possible for as long as possible. For the general population, those of you trying to diet for a, you know, photo shoot, wedding, holiday or something like that, if you haven't really been tracking your diet and you've been kind of eating what you want and, you know, lunches out, stuff like this, alcohol, then possibly drastically reducing your carbohydrate intake would be a good move for you, because generally, if you reduce your carbohydrate intake, you'd be making better food choices. What would you do to fill up? You'd be choosing fats, good fats, avocados, nuts, oils. Again, don't go too heavy on those. You'd be including better protein sources, leaner protein sources, oily fish, salmons, haddocks, all that kind of like, all the other oily fish has just completely gone out of my mind. But again, leaner proteins and oily fish, you've been making better food choices. You've been including a lot more vegetables most probably in a diet for the bulk of food, because you've lacked this carbohydrate. So what are you going to do to make up the volume of food? You're going to increase vegetables. Increased vegetable intake is going to increase your micronutrient intake, which is always a good thing. As we know, as your mum says, always eat your greens. So number 3, weighing yourself every day. There's two edges to this sword. You can weigh yourself every day, and I tell clients all the time, yes, you can weigh yourself every day, but they check in with you once a week or once every 2 weeks, and I say, if you weigh yourself every day, record your weight every day, but then take a average from the week, and that will be your week's weigh-in, okay? Body weight fluctuates daily, especially when you start to get leaner. It really does kind of fluctuate up and down. What is that to do with? Well, water retention, water manipulation, sodium, glycogen retention, all this kind of stuff does make an effect. Morning, evening, had food, you know, morning weigh-in, evening weigh-in, clothes on, clothes off. All these things make a difference. My advice is weigh yourself. If you're going to weigh yourself every day, weigh yourself first thing in the morning as you wake up, completely butt naked, get on the scales, record it, and then take that average of the whole week, and that will be your weigh-in for the week, and that will be what you'll set your measurements by. Don't weigh yourself every day and suddenly, oh my God, I've lost 2 pounds and I'll put it back on, and okay, that's just a whole bunch of bullshit, and that's only going to get you into a teary start to the day and a demotivated start to the day. If you weigh yourself every day, okay, that's fine, gone up 2 pounds, that's fine, gone up a kg, whatever, gone up half a kg, fuck that, but I'm going to take my measurement as an average for the week. If not, you weigh yourself once a week, same time every week, Monday morning, Friday morning, whatever it be. Just decrease the variables, weigh yourself every morning at the same time every week, and then that'll be your weight for the week. Okay, number 4, not taking measurements. What are we trying to achieve when we're trying to achieve a body composition, body fat loss, whatever? We are trying to achieve a change in body shape. We categorize it. No one's on the beach, or no one's at the photo shoot, or no one's on stage with fucking calipers reading your body fat or measuring your weight or whatever. We're trying to change from point A to point B. Fat lardy ass to a lean, muscly or fit looking, tight waist, tight glutes, girl, guy, whatever. That's the transition we're trying to make. So how do you measure that? Well, yes, weight is going to have an effect, especially if you're dialing down from 40% body fat down to 20% or 28% body fat down to 10%. Of course there's going to be a massive weight change. You're going to lose weight. Of course you are. But weight is not the be all and end all. So taking measurements by that I mean as simple as taking waist for females, taking waist, taking hips, and taking thigh circumference. This is where you females hold most of your body fat. We're trying to lose body fat. What happens when body fat goes? Of course, this will shrink down. These areas will shrink down. So that is a good way to measure your goals and measure your progress. Guys, if you're looking to get buff, chest, shoulders, legs, even your hips and your waist, these things do make it count. I mean, especially for females, I normally look at their circumference measurements first, and that would be waist and hips. I always look at them. Waist-hip ratio doesn't really count in this, but I'm looking at the areas where I know my clients hold most of their body fat, and I'm looking if they've shrunk. If they have, that's body fat down. It could be certain, within peak prep, you're not talking about a massive gain in lean mass because we're in calorie deficit. So, if lean mass is increased but body fat lost, you'll still have a deficit, you'll still have a drop in the measurements. So take measurements. Body fat, of course, it's a great way to take body fat. If you're doing calipers, 4-point is about as worthless as a fucking cock-flavored lollipop, so throw that out the pile. If you're gonna do calipers, you need a 7, 9, or the Biosig. If you're doing DEXA scan, great, but not everyone has a DEXA scan in their front room, and I think DEXA scan is recommended every month or every 2 weeks or something. You don't want to get one too. Underwater weighing, of course, but again, we don't have a body pod or an underwater weighing machine, and most people don't have access to that. Biometrical impedance, again, as about as useful as a Pope in a nunnery. It is not that great. You get, even the good machines like the InBody and stuff like that give fucking random results, especially if you've got increased lean mass as well. They generally work off the general population that have a normal amount of lean mass and a normal amount of body fat, because it's all referred to data at the end of the day. So not the best way. My preferred way, weight measurements in terms of hips, waist, thighs, chest, shoulders, whatever, and that's circumference measurements, so in centimeters is best, and taking your weight and doing progress pictures, of course. Okay, number 5, cutting out all your favorite foods. This is a bit of a tricky one. So if you get a diet plan and it says eat, you got 5 meals, you got oats in the morning, you got beef, you got chicken, you got salmon, okay, that's understandable. You want to stick to that plan. This is more where flexible dieting comes in. If you're going to stick to that kind of eating for the whole 12 weeks, understandable. Okay, if you're a competitor, you're really focused on that time, okay, you can give that 12 weeks up to eat bland food and not really enjoy it. But if you're one of those people kind of like what do they call it, eat to live, no, was it eat to live rather than live to eat? I'm one of the live to eat kind of people. I don't know about you, you may be an eat to live. Most competitors I find are the kind of live to eat kind of people. They love their food, so they will suffer maybe 12 or 16 weeks eating bland, or I say tasteless food. It doesn't have to be tasteless. There's things like seasoned gods. You can use condiments and stuff like that, but generally they're a little bit more inclined, or they're a little bit more focused to do that. If you're talking about the general population, an office worker, professional, busy person, like constantly in meetings after that, they're probably not going to survive on Tupperware dishes 5-6 meals a day and eating bland food, and opening up a thing of white fish or chicken and broccoli and a little bit of sweet potato in the middle of a meeting and start chowing down. It's not really going to be possible. It's not really socially it's still socially frowned on. Again, if you go to restaurants and try and take your Tupperware, it's not a good idea. I always say to my clients, one of my clients said that this morning, like, can I take a Tupperware to a nice fancy French restaurant? I said, fuck no, please don't do that. Do not take your Tupperware. have a night off. You've done well, results are showing good, have a night off. If you cut out all your favorite foods for the whole, for the dieting period, you're gonna crave, you're not gonna enjoy that process. And I always say, if you enjoy the process, it'll be a lot more sustainable after. It'll almost kind of regrade into a lifestyle rather than be a Pacific 12 or 6 week to cut down and then fucking binge your life out and gain weight after. So don't cut out your favorite foods. This is more when flexible dieting comes in, so you can, you may have a day off, you may have a night off. Your coach or whoever you're getting a diet off or macros might say, okay, you can have an evening off there, you can have 2 cheat meals a week or something like this. Again, this will be dependent on your results. But don't remove all your favorite foods. If one of your favorite foods is, Krispy Kremes with a bit of Haagen-Dazs, try and factor that into the week. You may not be easy to factor in if you're on a low calorie count, but at least you have to incorporate that into a day off or a cheat meal or something like that. Never cut out all your favorite foods, because it will lead to a 12 to 16 weeks or however long you're dieting for, sometimes up to 6 months, of a very bland and boring, and most likely you'll find you'll binge and you'll cheat on your diet even more than necessary. Number 6, being a social hermit. Again, I always lean into competitors here because they're more willing, I say, to kind of be a social hermit and to, not go on social occasions and clear their diaries full of nights out and weddings and appearances and meeting up with friends and stuff like that. Okay, if you've got, a lot of people say your friends when you start dieting, your friends when you start competing, because they'll be the people that still want to meet up with you and are happy to do what you want to do in terms of go to a restaurant that you can eat, you can count your macros, not go drinking, not get on the piss, not have a fucking heavy ass Friday night and be hanging on the Saturday and Sunday. Try and work through these. We all have these kind of friends. You just got to figure out who they are, and that's why a lot of kind of friends in the fitness industry become friends with people in the fitness industry, because they understand them a little bit better. But I would say never be a hermit. When I'm dieting, when I'm prep, I always try and maintain all my social occasions, be that weddings, be that christenings, be that family meals, being that my mum's cooking, be that going out for dinner, seeing my friends in London, because a lot of my friends aren't in the fitness industry. They kind of understand what I do, they understand what I'm dieting, but I'd still have a couple of drinks with them. If I could fit that in, it wouldn't really be fit into, I don't classify drinks as fitting into your macronutrients, but I do classify as maybe once a week. If you're not in a, if you're not 2-3 weeks out for competition, fuck it, it's possible. If you're leading out and you're getting results, there's no reason to be a hermit, and there is no reason to be a hermit. Maintain those social occasions. Yes, you're not going to be able to go out and eat fucking whatever you want 5-6 nights a week. Of course you're not. You have to be logical about this stuff. But then again, if you're going out to a restaurant, do your research. If I normally find steak restaurants and the kind of Italian grills or something like that the easiest to eat at, because normally you can get a lean piece of beef or chicken or protein or whatever, and a side salad or some vegetables, or normally sometimes in a steak restaurant, sweet potato as well. They do baked sweet potato. So this is always an option, and try and count. You're never gonna, if you go to a nice restaurant, let's say we go to a gaucho and we're trying to figure out how much a 500 ribeye steak is with gauchos, sweet potato and roasted field mushrooms. We're never gonna get a good idea of that, but we could guesstimate it. We could guesstimate it quite easily, and then we could work your macronutrients around there. So guys, this has been 6 common mistakes made by dieters. Don't make many mistakes, guys. If you're interested in following me, you just have to go to my Instagram, which is TB Conditioning down here. Subscribe to my YouTube now, because there'll be a lot more of these 5-minute knowledge bombs. And my transformation again starts in second week of September, so do not miss that. It's going to be something that you can join me in. So join me in this transformation. So if you've got an event in Christmas, a wedding or something like that, holiday, maybe heading to Thailand, maybe heading to Florida, maybe heading to Dubai, whatever, you want to look good on the beach, you can follow with me on my 12-week transformation come the second week of September. So stay tuned for that. Follow my Facebook page, Total Body Conditioning Limited. Yeah, that's about it, guys. Have a great Monday. You're going to see this on Tuesday, so have a great week, and I shall see you on the next 5-minute knowledge bomb. Ciao for now.